Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. I'm sure that you've been staying tuned and watching the show every week on Bethel Park TV in Pittsburgh and also internationally, radio and television. And I tell you, the guests every week get better and better and interesting and interesting. And I like having a producer than being myself the producer when it comes to radio. So our guest this week is just a phenomenal athlete who is really helping kids now and looking at fitness and looking at childhood obesity. So we're going to look at an NFL career, college career, life after football, and how he's truly making the difference. So I want to welcome the program former NFL and NCAA star Anthony McClenahan. Anthony, thanks for calling. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Neil, I just got done running my first boot camp this morning. It started at 5:30. My 6-year-old Easton also comes every morning with me. He gets up at 5 a.m. So it's definitely a great morning, and it's beautiful here in Bellingham.
I tell you, when we talk about this, Anthony, about getting to get up, work out, get your kid up, and just really be happy about each day and rising, and I think that's what it is. You have your passion. Some people say, "Why get up this early in the morning?" But you're passionate about what you do.
Well, I'll tell you right now, my dad, Brent McClenahan, had played with the Vikings for 10 years, back with Bud Grant. When I was my son's age, he would get me up when he was in town and whatnot. He would get me up at 3 or 4 years old and go out and run with him. And my son started at the same age. And it's nothing better than getting up with your dad in the morning and getting in a workout and knowing that as soon as you hit junior high and high school, they have a thing called zero period. Hey, you're going to have to get up anyway before class and go work out. So why not start early?
And that's a great story to start about fatherhood and thinking about how much your father was an influence on you, Anthony. You said he was a former NFL star that played again for Bud Grant. So at that time, there was not a lot of money in the NFL. So it was at that point, if your father probably had to work another job. I mean, I talked to Andy Russell and different people like that. So your perspective of being a son of an NFL athlete, it was a different perspective than when we talk about if your son and seeing you playing in the NFL and sports where money is a little bit better than the days when he was playing, right?
Exactly. They just did a story on him with Super Bowl. He lives in Bakersfield, California, and they talked about the amount of money that he made. I believe his first contract with the Minnesota Vikings was $15,000. So his intensity and drive and stamina and just the hard work that he had to put in, and of course working other jobs to just sustain it. I mean, luckily for them, they went to 3 Super Bowls, and they had the purple people eaters, and they always had something going on. So media would always pay some other bills for him in advertising, but at the same time, training was like key, and that's where I learned it. I learned it from him as far as training. But I think the most important part of that was the nutrition factor. I mean, if it wasn't for my grandmother, my mom's mom, that I don't think he would have been able to play as long as he did. And I know with my career, I would have been able to play for the time that I did, even though I did have a major injury. I think the nutrition was a main factor. So, we are true believers of nutrition. And I've also wrote a book called The Power of 14 that talks about a lot of things like that. And, weight loss is my key factor, but inflammation and toxins and trying to overcome those, that's the most important part of it.
Anthony, we're definitely going to get to that, but I really want in the first segment to focus on your career and then just before career, because I think this is so amazing. So you got to travel with him and really see what the NFL was all about, didn't you, with your dad, Britt, right?
I did. I mean, I was able to go to Super Bowls at 3 and 4 and 5. I mean, I watched my dad do some most amazing things when I was a kid, when I was younger. I was in Bakersfield. He was in Minnesota, of course. I lived with my mom, and he would always when we had time and when he had time, because football takes a toll on you. It's a busy schedule. As much as you want to be home, I mean, it's a 12-hour day, easy. To be at the stadium, even still today. I mean, you started, some guys started at 6 a.m. I know that Russell Wilson up here in Seattle, I mean, he's watching film at 6 a.m. Back then, I mean, seriously, it's a full-time gig. I mean, you might get home at midnight if you're lucky during the week. So, and coaches it's even harder on them. So, I mean, there's not a lot of time, but he made time for me to actually do the things that I needed to do to get me where I'm at today. And I saw every level and stage that he went through, from the injury to the losses to the wins. I remember Bud Grant was an amazing guy. He is an amazing guy, and I remember that every time the Vikings lost, this is funny, they had, on Sunday, when they went back and watched film, they had to run 5 miles. There was no football going on. When they lost, Bud Grant made those guys run miles and miles and miles. We're talking like, and I played in Canada too, so up there in Winnipeg, I believe it was up in Winnipeg first, and then up, Minnesota, obviously. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think Bud Grant was coaching in the CFL or affiliated with them at some point. But I remember his philosophy was, if you lose, you work harder, and it has nothing to do with football. You will run. You will be in the best shape of your life because you lost because you were out of shape, and that's the reason why. And so I think coaches put that in your head at an early stage in your life. And some coaches really don't care about being in shape. They want to have skill and technique. Right. But this coach was, you're going to be in shape, and we're going to be the best, and we're going to outplay these guys because of how amount of fitness that we have. And that was crucial. Those guys didn't have a lot of injuries back then because they were in shape. And it wasn't very big either. I mean, if you look at half the team, right, there were some small guys that played for the Vikings in the 70s, early 80s. And they ran all over you. I mean, smaller, and still today. I mean, speed kills, right? They had fast guys, and that was the key.
So, how, especially you said your father worked such long hours, how involved was he in your education? Meaning, like school and the importance of school, and looking at because at that point maybe he thought you had possibilities of playing in the NFL, but he knew that there's going to be life after football. You're seeing it specifically growing up with him. But tell me what he thought of education in the house and how important that was.
Well, my mom and dad divorced when I was 3. It's way prevalent now. I mean, it seems like every household there's another mom and another dad, and so I was a part of that component. Yeah. But blended family. But the thing was, he was in Minnesota, I was in Bakersfield, I was back and forth. When he was on the off season, he would come home, and that's where I had a chance to really understand and get to meet the other side of the family, because I have my family and so most people don't know this, but the Marion family, that guy Brock Marion that played with the Cowboys, Detroit, and Miami, that's my first cousin. So we also had another side of the NFL. There's a lot of us, and so me and Brock were always together. And we were with my grandmother, Clara Marion. And Grandma Clara Marion was the one that put school into my head first. It wasn't so much my dad, because he was sports, but they really pressed education. He was an ASU graduate. So obviously he had a scholarship. Right now he's like one of the top. He's had Teacher of the Year in California 3 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
My dad is a computer genius, and he's really, really smart. And all through life, he would talk about impressed school, but if it wasn't for my grandmother,
because she was the one on top of you, making sure you're doing the studies and all that stuff.
Oh my God, Grandma Clara Marion she sit you down and say, look, you're not running the football, you're not even going out to the garden, you're not playing with friends until you get your school now. So here it is, 2:00. And I'm sitting at the table till 4, and Grandma's like, are you done yet? Now you can go play. It's 4:30. Well, Grandma, it's getting dark. Well, exactly. I got you in the house. You're safe. There's no problems. We're good. She wanted to keep us as close as possible. And, we didn't grow up in the safest neighborhoods with grandparents. They were on the other side of town. It was a rough area. And so education saved us. Grandma saved us. And school was like number one before any sport.
I love hearing that. And you know what, Anthony, it's interesting, and I think that a lot of people don't look at the professional athletes, that school was a number one priority for many of the athletes that are today playing sports, because if they didn't have those, when you look at recruiting for colleges and stuff, they pick a certain player based on GPA as well, not just always the talent. They're going to say who's the one's going to be able to stay in school and graduate or keep the grades throughout their career. So really, to stay on top of things, to stay eligible, a lot of athletes that have that drive, it's because they had that education drive as well, and understand that life's not going to all be about sports forever.
Exactly. I mean, it's so important, and I say it right now, and I tell my son, I tell my baby Easton, he's, like I said, he's 6. I'm like, save your money. We're gonna try to take some online classes or talk to my accountant, my bookkeeper. I want you to see these other people because they're the ones that are gonna tell you to really take care of yourself and get an extra push in education and try to find a focus, a study that you're really gonna like and move forward on. It's funny because at Washington State, they gave you all these core classes, and they said you're really not going to understand and know your career path that you're on until your 4th year in college. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, man, that's a long time. I mean, 4 more years, and I'm not going to know what I want to do. You got to take all these prereqs, and I'm going, you know what? Before I even got to Washington State, I already had it determined in my head what I wanted to do because I was already prepping myself with people that I were around at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was already a set stage. You're not going to play football all your life, but I want you to pick, Grandma said this, I want you to pick 3 or 4 things specifically that you know you're really good at. And then when you get out of college, you might pick 1, maybe 2 things, but you're going to run with them, you're going to play with them a little bit, but you're always going to come back to your number 1 baby. Always.
That's fabulous. And so unbelievably, Anthony, I'm having a blast talking to Anthony McClanahan, former NFL NCAA star, and we didn't even get to Washington State yet. So we'll try to quickly in the next segment talk a little bit about your career and then life after. But Anthony, we got about a minute to our break. Really, you decided early you wanted to be an entrepreneur and do all these different things at 9 or 10 years old? Because that's amazing if that's true.
I honestly did. I mean, I saw my grandparents do it. My grandfather, he owned his own business. My grandmother helped him. I mean, everybody that was around us had to have something else, not just working for a person. They needed to do something else that was going to benefit them and that they can set their own schedule. Athletes set their own schedule. It's really difficult to not be on the same schedule you were as an athlete when you're not playing anymore. So you have to figure out a way to continue that path. It makes you happy.
Exactly. And I think that when you're not in control of things really, but as an entrepreneur, you at least are controlling your schedule and you know when you can be at things and different things and they can pull you together, and it's a life lesson. But I think as an athlete, you strive to be the very best. When you're working for yourself, you have to put the bar high if you want to be a success, or your business is going to close, or you're not going to have enough clients and you're not going to be the very best. And when you work for somebody, at times you can be mediocre. But when you own your own business, if you're mediocre, it's not going to be long till you're going to be working for somebody else. Isn't that true, Anthony?
Exactly, 100%. You got to be a champion every second of your life when you own your own company, period.
That's exactly. Because how many of them make a profit, really, and honestly? And how many of them are small businesses are truly a success? And we get back more with Anthony McClanahan, and we're going to go now life after football. He's going to give me a quick summary of Wash State and then also his NFL and CFL career. You're watching Neil Haley Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
Cheerleaders at Bethel Park High School, and we have a special invitation for you.
We would like you to join us for the Bethel Park Cheerleaders and Boosters 25th Annual Spring Fashion Show that benefits Allegheny County Special Olympics.
This year's Sweetest Adventure theme show will be held on Sunday, March 22nd, 2015.
It will be held at the Independence Middle School's auditorium. Doors open at noon.
Tickets are $5 for adults and $3 for students.
We have had incredible support from the community for this annual event in years past, and all proceeds go directly to this very worthwhile charity.
Last year, the fashion show resulted in a donation of $9,000.
Bethel Park Cheerleading Boosters Association's total donation from the past 2 decades has raised more than $176,000.
Your support on behalf of this very important cause will help to raise money to enrich the lives of Special Olympic athletes throughout Allegheny County.
Through your support, these very special athletes will be given opportunities to train and compete in 19 different sports throughout the year.
Each year, we invite an ambassador to participate in this exciting charitable event. This year, we have 3 special guests.
We are pleased to introduce our 2015 Special Olympic athletes and Jessica Clayton, who is the Special Olympics of Allegheny County Global Messenger. Our special ambassadors are Aiden Marple and Molly Mathias.
There is a wonderful afternoon planned with fashion from many local stores.
Please come to see us model at the fashion show while you help support the Allegheny County Special Olympics, which has done so much to support Special Olympic athletes.
There's also a fabulous basket auction and light refreshments.
Our primary source of fundraising comes from the basket auction, where the baskets are made from items donated by local businesses.
Please join us on Sunday, March 22nd at 1 p.m. at Independence Middle School. For tickets, please see any Bethel Park cheerleader or call Devin Rutherford at 412-851-1276. Please support Special Olympics. Go Hawks!
We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and I'm with Anthony McClenahan, former NCAA and also NFL star, and again, a family, the McClenahan family, we look at specifically enough. His dad played as well, and with the Purple People Eaters, and I had Justice, oh my gosh, it's coming to me the second, that played for Minnesota as well, and the Supreme Court Justice Allen on my show. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Daddy Page.
Yeah, Alan Page. Yeah. Yes. So you had a relationship. He is phenomenal, and what he's doing, Justice Page in Minnesota with the inner city youth is phenomenal. His foundation is bar none, Anthony. I mean, I talked to what he does for education in Minnesota, and he's tremendous. And so, continuing the conversation, you decide to go to Washington State. Why Washington State, Anthony?
Because they have the best hunting and fishing in the entire United States, and I'm a hunting and fishing fanatic. Just being honest, Mike Price and Bill Doba came to my house, Dennis Erickson and Bill Doba came to my house and said, "Look, we know that you hunt and fish. You can come to our college and be the best hunting and fishing person ever hit the planet." And that excited me. So I ended up taking a trip there. And that wasn't my first trip. I went to the Longhorns. I went to USC. I went to UCLA. I'm from Bakersfield, so I could have easily stayed home. Those schools, they were overrated and too big, and I wanted to make a difference. And I did make a difference. There's no one that has broken any of my records I've ever set at Washington State to this day. And there's a couple other guys that tried, and they didn't hit it. And I'm happy to say that I'm glad that I made the decision to go to Washington State. Go Cougs! I mean, right today, the things that they do for their athletes after college is amazing. And I'm with them. I talk to them. I train a lot of different people that are on boards here in Bellingham, Washington, and I can't say enough good things about it. But I can tell you what, my mom cooked for Dennis Erickson. She made a good chicken dish. Mac Donnell, which was another coach that was there, he came as well. He actually did all my academic requirements and worked with my counselors when I was at Bakersfield High School, who just won the state championship in California for high school football. They continue to do that. BHS Go Drillers. It's a place of I don't know. It's hard to describe Washington State. It is the best school on the planet, and the reason why I think it is because that town is so small. And it's nothing better when you're there. It's different than being in Seattle with those Husky guys, those other guys. It's being off campus is what it is, and coming or off community, going into a campus that as soon as you get there, it's about family. There's at the time that I went there were and if the campus left, there were only like 6,000 people in town, and then I think the school was at 24,000 or something like that. I'm sure they've since grown. They've done amazing things to the campus. But, I got there, Marlon Brown, Steve Broussard, Tim Stallworth were my hosts. I mean, these guys all played in the NFL, right. Broussard. And I said, I love you guys. What is it that, and thank you for being who you are, but why are you a Coug and why are you here? They said, because we go to bowl games and we have this man named Dennis Erickson. and he will lead you to the promised land. And he did. But then, unfortunately, he left when he left. As soon as I went to Washington State, he had left and went to Miami. And he sent me a letter and he said, "Hey, McClanahan, would you like to go to Miami with me?" I said, "You know what? I can't do that. My mom just paid $1,000 to send my stuff to Washington State. We'll never get that money back. I'm going to stay a Coug." And Mike Price came in, and we had, and then this kid named Drew Bledsoe came in, and away you went. I mean, this guy signed for $48 million. He was one of the most amazing quarterbacks ever, and Mike Price is one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life. And I owe it all to Mike Price and Bill Doba. And Mike Zimmer, who is now head coach of Minnesota Vikings. Those guys made me who I am today.
You know, it's so interesting, Anthony, with the conversation talking about specifically Washington State and how much a Cougar alum and bleed Washington State for sure. Records. What records do you hold at Washington State? Then we have to get to your quick summary of the NFL because we got to promote what you're currently doing.
USC. I'm solo tackles, 23 solo tackles on my own. The only reason why I didn't hit 30 plus is because Bill Doba pulled me out. I was rated, I believe, in '94. I was rated number 1 in the nation in tackles, next to, or as a linebacker, next to what was his name that went to Florida? Oh my God, I can't even think right now. We'll give it to that. I'm thinking right now. But anyway, that's one of the records that's at Washington State. And then all-time tackling at Washington State. No one's ever broke that in the history of Washington State. So, I mean, you can go back and look, and I'm pretty happy about it. I hope that one day my son will be able to do that.
Oh, so you want him to play football, follow your footsteps. So what a family that's becoming, for sure. Now, once your career's over, Washington State, you had aspirations in the NFL. So what draft pick were you when you went to the Cowboys?
You know what? I had a really terrible agent experience, and the guys that will represent me to be rated number 1 and 2 and be up for the Buckets Award and get taken down to that ceremony on the plane with your coach and not get drafted was a downfall for me.
Yeah.
Because of the agent I had who was representing a basketball player in the NBA. I won't say who it is, but what happened with me is after I came back from the East-West Shrine and the Hula Bowl, I was sick actually in Hawaii. Jason Sehorn and Willie McGinnis were my roommates over there, and those guys, I mean, we had the greatest time, but at the same time, and played great, but I was sick the whole time. And I think that Hula Bowl might have messed me up because of that. I had a great East-West Shrine game, but I think the hula kind of messed me up. I came back. Mike Price says, you didn't play the greatest in the Hula Bowl, and you got these agents, but I think you might be okay. Seattle called me second, third round. Pittsburgh called me. All these teams called me, and all of a sudden on the 7th round, the phone just stopped ringing. And I went as a free agent to Dallas. Mike Zimmer went over there as a D coordinator. I made it from number 6 linebacker all the way up to number 2, and I was behind Dixon Edwards and for Dallas, and then all of a sudden I broke my ribs. 3 of them got cracked. Leon Lett hit me right in my ribs on a play that we were tackling, actually trying to tackle Emmett. And I broke in practice, and I broke my ribs, and I had to sit out for about 2 weeks because of my ribs. And then I finally came back, and I played against the Vikings and had a great game, and all of a sudden I get the most nastiest concussion. And I just had problems with it the whole time, and with injuries and things. And that's when they asked me. Jerry Jones pulled me into the office and goes with Barry Switzer, "Hey, we got an opportunity for you to go over to Europe while you're getting better and go play in the World League Europe for Amsterdam." And I took it. Deion Sanders was coming in that year. They had a rookie cap issue with money. And so me and Jermaine Younger, both linebackers, went over to Amsterdam, got drafted and went to Atlanta, then went to Amsterdam for that whole draft thing and played. And we won the World League with Al Luginbill that year. And then I came back and I busted up my finger pretty bad over there, and practice was going on in Dallas, and they asked me again. They're like, "Well, you keep getting injured, but you keep playing. You're not going to stop. You keep rolling. What do you want to do? You're going to sit around for 6 weeks? We could probably hold you on, or you want to go play ball right now because we can't allow you to play with your finger." Wally Buono called me from Calgary Stampeders and said, "We got a job for you right now. You can be Rookie of the Year." I came over there, and I played, and I got Rookie of the Year in the CFL.
So how many years did you play in the CFL?
94 to 99. I had a bad injury I cracked my C456 in '98. Went to 2 Grey Cups with Doug Flutie. Jeff Garcia was my quarterback. I played with Doug Flutie over there in Calgary, and then he ended up going to Toronto, and then I left in '99 because I messed my neck up pretty bad. It's all in my book that I wrote, Power 14, that talks about all that stuff. But I had a great experience, Calgary and the Grey Cups, and all these guys that I played with. I ended up wrestling for the WWE right after, and I went to Battle Dome in LA. I worked with a lot of different guys, wrestling and doing TV work and things like that after. I mean, I've had a great career, great life. It's been awesome. There's been ups and downs, but the most important part is I stayed me always. I was always committed.
Yeah. So you and I have a brotherhood. I was a professional wrestler, wrestled in the minor leagues. I did TV once for WWF, but I wrestled in Germany, in Bremen, Germany for Autowants and all that different stuff. So I'm 6'10", right now 270, but I used to be 6'10", 310 pounds. Played college basketball, then went into be a pro wrestler. So we have to stay in touch and touch base about war stories of what you did in wrestling. But now let's jump to specifically your life after. We only have a few minutes. Let's talk about your fitness program with kids, and then 41 Sports, and the Power of 14. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go.
So tell us a bit about the work, your whole passion to end childhood obesity. Tell us about that. Yeah.
All right. So my grandmother used to sit me down and she used to tell me, look, son, the only way for you to be in top shape is to never, ever, ever have mental or have to use medication or be sick or just stay on top always is to eat from the garden. You have to eat natural foods. You have to do everything that you're supposed to do that somebody else wouldn't tell you to do, which means that everything that I'm telling you to do as far as eating healthy foods and organic foods and just being true to you and being happy after you eat, not overindulging and staying away from soda, staying away from bread, staying away from dairy, all these things, because, it's like if you don't find good foods and a channel for you to actually endure this energy and be able to focus on whatever it is that, like it's like you basically are trying to be simplistic, and you got to have a plan so that you can follow it. And so she would always just instill this into us. You got to have energy, you got to have heart, you got to have, all these values.
Exactly. Oh my! And I can't believe we're cutting off. The time is running. We talked so much about the career. I'm going to have to reach out to you to have you come back on for a part 2 for sure for radio. I will contact your publicist. I want to go more into the fitness stuff with kids, 41 Sports. Where is the best place we can find information on you, Anthony, really quickly? Where can we go?
At 41sports.com, www.41sports.com, 41sports.com.
All right, well, Anthony, best of luck. And they're going to check out his book, find out about his fitness programs. Tremendous story. I really enjoyed it, Anthony, and learning about the family life and your father and your entrepreneurial ventures and your stories, and never knew about professional wrestling. So definitely going to have you back on to talk more about your brand and stuff on the radio network. And thanks again for calling, and best of luck to you, Anthony.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it.
Take care. Okay, bye-bye. All right, that was Anthony McClenahan, and wow, another great Neil Haley show. And I never thought, the stories of NFL players to the CFL and a career and seeing entrepreneurial ventures and knowing it at 10. I wish I had that idea, but truly I know for a fact there's nothing else I would do but live my life like I'm living it today. Take care, everyone, and next week, again, go to my website, toldtutor.net. Told Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, and all those places. And we'll talk next week. Good day, everyone.